Hello YouTube, this is 9 weeks of being a dad, which looks like it has aged me forever. We're outside in the Texas heat today and I wanted to show you just like what not to do with cars. So I was about to make another video on how to like purchase a drift car and how to do it and what to do, and I made one I'll link below. I never actually link below, but explaining like the process and mostly just the thought process of what to do, how to buy a cheap car, what state of build to buy in, if you're a mechanic, if you're not, all those different things. But anyways, I bought exactly what you probably should not buy, which is a 600 horsepower, I think it makes 530 or 580 at the wheels, E36 like Pro-Am car from one of my Pro-Am drivers who was over the car and he got into Stancy stuff. It was Colin Bernard. This car was incredibly well driven in Lone Star Drift a few years ago for multiple years, was super reliable, really cool car, and there we go.
Colin's up front.
This is it.
Zach is being aggressive. Zach is right there. Throws it into the same.
And when you buy cars like this, you kind of buy them for a fraction of what they cost to build, but also they're towards the end of their life cycle without some maintenance and everything. And I'm pretending to be Adam LZ today, buying things and like flex culture and all that stuff. But realistically, I just wanted to show you this because keeping YouTube channel alive and all that stuff. And people like seeing new cars. It's one of the more popular things on YouTube. So this is an E36 BMW, which is obvious. It's got a GTX 3582 turbo. It has knockoff RPF ones. So it's a 2.9 liter built head and bottom end M50 or 52, I guess. It's a caged car. It has like very minimal gauge setup and all this. It's like just very, how do you say? All the money looks like you was spent in the right places to be really competitive and win. Which is an E36 chassis with a big angle kit, lots of power, and really good fuel. So a couple funny notes. This is like the absolute anti-Aaron Mobile in some ways. We're gonna do another episode in a minute, which is the dyno, to see if it really makes as much power as they said it did, because everybody always exaggerates on power. And let me show you the pain of a car like this. I always do the videos where Chelsea and I and other drivers talk about how much it costs to run a car. I had Mark run down and grab some fuel for it. 5 gallons. Wait. Yeah, 5 gallons was $86.55 after tax. So a full tank of this would be a lot. So I'm gonna convert it over to E85 eventually, I guess, but that in itself will cost a bunch of money and everything. It has a rear mount radiator set up. What's funny about the car, by the way, we'll look at under the hood real quick and then back here, but under the hood is less exciting than the back of the car because it just looks like a normal BMW, but has a really nice rear mount radiator setup. Everything is really symmetrically mounted. These fans pull a ton of air. I'll show you that in a second. Everything's just really well mounted and looks really nice and simplistic. Well, I say simplistic, but I mean like workable. You have a lot of space back here. You don't have an engine and everything. It separates everything quite a bit. I guess you could even lay on the ground and do stuff. Coming around here, very high quality self-tapered. Gonna have to do something about that. Little pieces. The driver was quite a bit shorter than I am, so we're gonna have to remount the seat. You can see how far forward that is. Not a ton of stuff going on in here, just all business, which is rad. I thought these were side ducts to pull in air for the rear mount, but it turns out they just go up into the dash and it's like air conditioning for the driver, which is cool. Let's pull this and show you underneath the hood. Now, this is so funny because when you look like at 600 horsepower V8s or 600 horsepower JZ cars, they look like it. They look crazy. And then you look at bigger power BMW cars and you're like, oh, kind of looks stock. Like it looks like a high mileage stock vehicle. But the turbo on these things is hiding way down there, and it's a big turbo. I mean, big for an inline six. It's a 3582. I think at 18 or 19 pounds of boost. We'll find out on the dyno. It has, oh, this is really cool too. It has an intercooler hiding up here. It's kind of hard to see, but it has fans on it and it has an oil cooler up right behind it. So the fans are pulling, you know, air through the intercooler there with no radiator to heat soak any of that stuff. And just seems like it'd be a really easy car to keep cool and keep reliable, hopefully. It currently has an MG Solutions angle kit. We're gonna replace that with a SLR kit because I really like SLR kits. And the strut tops seem to be tearing a little bit when you come around here. So we got strut top reinforcement stuff. I'm sure the car still drives fine. It just needs to be dealt with before it gets too crazy bad. How do we turn on the fans? I haven't even seen this car yet.
So you got the middle switch there, which will turn them on, or there's a test panel back here.
Oh, really?
Turn on them individually.
Mark went and picked this up for me. These things kick out a crazy amount of air. You can feel it standing back here on your legs, big time. So this is an electric water pump, cheap radiator, and then all this stuff.
This third switch turns on the water pump.
Ah, so you can cycle all that stuff with the car off.
Yep.
Can you start the car with without having that stuff on?
Yeah.
Hopefully not. No, I'm saying on the dash.
Yeah, you can start it without turning anything on.
Oh, that's dangerous. I like everything on ignition so that I can't blow it up. I wonder, oh, this is just a pull thing. This is his door handle. That's funny.
I just stuck my arm out the window.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah, it doesn't have glass. It would be just as easy to reach over. So cool. I bet this car, we should weigh it, but it probably weighs around at 2450 to 2550, I'm guessing, with no one in it. And with like 530 wheel or whatever they say it's at, it should be a rocket ship. Now, one of the reasons why I like these cars so much and why Chelsea likes them and everybody else, they steer a lot differently than most drift cars. It's easy to drive these things at crazy angle and they still have a bunch of forward bite and move. And it makes that very like entertaining. And even with no horsepower in my last black E36, like most people always say like, oh, you don't need big angle, like wise fab angle and everything if you have no power. Well, that's not true. It can be really, really fun to drive as long as like you don't use 90 degrees of angle in an accelerating corner where you just bog the car down and don't go fast. But like it's super fun on decelerating corners to throw the car in huge and have huge angle and stuff. Just touching back what we started to talk about at the beginning, I do not suggest people buy cars like this. Even when they're way less expensive than you think, the running costs get just astronomically high really fast. And the only reason I bought this is A, I got a good deal on it. B, I wanted to go really fast and drive something like really entertaining because I don't think I have any slow cars right now. I think everything's like 500 horsepower V8. But I really like E36s. I felt like with M3s and stuff, they're so expensive because of all the stuff going on right now. I would never own one again. So I got this thing, kind of fits the bill. It's really expensive to run. I'll have to spend thousands of dollars just like converting it over to E85 with a tune and injectors and all that junk, potentially like $1,500, I don't know, or $2,000 probably by the time we're done. I haven't even looked at prices on these things. I think you buy like a mass airflow sensor tune injector combo from someone like RK Tunes, and then we're good. We de-stickered the thing, so a bunch of paint came off when Mark de-stickered it the other day, and I've been messing with baby stuff, so I haven't even seen this thing. He went and got it from Colin's dad over in Louisiana the other day, and I am super excited. I do a big burnout and everything, but tires are expensive, and I don't want to mark up the ground here at the shop because we don't have Atom money, so a little bit less exciting than that. We're hoping to get this car ready to take to round 5 of Lone Star Drift to go play with at Motorsport Ranch Houston. I haven't been getting a good chance to like drive with everybody lately because I've been so busy, but Mark has a bunch of time to spend on my stuff right now. So hopefully we can get this car down there and sorted and everything in advance. We have to move the seat, we have to dyno it, we have to go change the oil and I don't know, figure out whatever else is wrong with it. I think the turbo's smoking right now. So if you want to come out and see us and everything, it's at Motorsport Ranch Houston, August 21st and 22nd. We'll see you there. And I'll probably be taking people for rides and stuff if I have the ability and time. I might have to set that up in advance somehow. And let's go look at the S14 while we're here real quickly too. So this is the Tyler Cox Memorial car, just keeping everybody up to date with what's going on with it. Mark was just taking it back apart again and fixing a bunch of stuff. Motor is out at the machine shop. Mark was pressure washing everything. He just got the Wise Fab and everything in a couple weeks ago. Relocated the rack, which means cutting up the subframe and moving it all and getting everything cleaned up, because we're gonna paint the whole front end, the back end, the interior, everything at once. I'm gonna talk about this LRB stuff and about sealing up a car, because that's important and most people don't think about it, in a future episode. And we're just putting glass in it and just getting it ready. Okay, that's enough of an update on that thing, because that's getting shipped to Japan and you only have one chance to work on it with all your tools before it gets shipped off. So I'm not gonna do a burnout for you, but I don't even fit in this thing. Like, not even close. Let's see if I fit at all. Oh my God, I am so far forward. Okay. Oh my God, the seat is small. Look at this, my head is in the roof. Before I start it, what we're gonna look at is, people always talk about JZs or these motors and all the differences between all these things. These things are rad, but listen to this. It kind of sounds dorky. Fans on. They all have this like lifter tick sound too. Like with a JZ, you would hear tons of cool turbo noises and everything else. This just sounds like a BMW inline 6. Like nothing too exciting. It just sounds like it's a BMW inline 6 burning off $15 a gallon fuel. That hurts so much to say. Quick note about a car like this. Let's talk about like purchasing your own drift car and everything. The reason why I say a person should not like purchase a drift car like this is because a car like this, as opposed to like a naturally aspirated E36 that can look the exact same and drift very similarly, except it won't be as fast, the running cost for this thing will be multiple $1,000s a weekend. Those costs will be about 10 to 20 tires. It's gonna be, oh God, at $150, probably about $300 to $400 in fuel for a full 2-day event. It's gonna be broken parts. Like a turbo off this thing is $2,700 for a GTX 3582. The engine is probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 grand or something like that from a shop, because this car was shop built, by the way. And then most of the rest of the car is pretty standard, but you will break axles every once in a while. Not too much stuff to trash other than that, but the per lap cost is pretty darn high compared to my other E36. I just ran scrubs off my other car, 93 fuel. So I would go through maybe 40 bucks of fuel an event, nothing in tires, because I was running scrubs off my other car, and I had just as much fun as I will in this thing. I absolutely loved it. In fact, we chatted about pulling the turbo off this car and having fun with it that way, but that seems like a complete waste of money to play that game. The whole point of this thing is like YOLO rocket machine, because we are doing a lot of bigger tracks lately, and I've been in drifting so long that sometimes you just want to do stupid stuff, even if it's not financially viable and everything else. So with a car like this, instead of doing 150 laps like in my other E36, you're just going to take 30 or 40 maybe, and you're not going to do all those laps because it just costs too much. And another note on a car like this, if you were to build this car yourself, I would guess a car like this all in is probably like 50 grand to 40 grand building it yourself. Those costs are probably like 2,700 bucks for a turbo, another $4,000 to $5,000 in injectors, tune, mass airflow sensor, probably some extra boost control things and a fuel pump and whatever else you need, because it is on a stock ECU that's retuned. You know, another 1,500 bucks to $2,000 in clutch setup and everything. Wide body paint. All right, this thing needs an M3 bumper. Probably at least $3,000, and all the rear mount water pump, fans, radiator, extra little pieces and fabrication, and like all the junk to put it back there nicely. You can do it cheaper, but I mean, to do it nicely like this is probably pretty expensive. It has like boxes built in the back and stuff that everything runs through back there nicely, that looks professionally done. All the little bits and pieces get to be the killer stuff on this. And then probably another $4,000 to $5,000 in suspension stuff. Yeah, it would probably be 50. And as a shop-built car like this, which is super nicely built and super reliable, and you're not paying to learn all the mistakes that like when you build your own car, I would guess that a car like this is between 50 and 100 grand, probably closer to 100 grand having a shop build it. And it just, I'm not saying that as like a shock value, I'm just doing it as an educational thing. It gets really expensive to run cars like this. And then a couple grand a weekend at least to run. So if you ran this thing for 10 events at a Pro-Am level, you're probably talking $20,000 just in running costs without all the extra stuff. And if you're talking like Formula D, I was talking to some Pro 2 buddies of mine that are currently doing Formula D Pro 2, and they're all telling me they're spending about $6,000 to $8,000 per round, which seems about right and pretty cheap. And that's not considering the cost of the car, like the build and everything. That's another $100,000 to $250,000. Just puts things in this perspective, because I want people to know before they jump into it. Because I mean, we're getting to the point where drift cars are real race cars, and they're not jokes anymore. Like this still is not quite a real race car. It's a lot of power, but with a lot of like a stock transmission and stock axles and an M3 diff and all that stuff, because those are good quality components and take a lot of power. But as soon as you start getting really crazy, it goes like, you know, real race car parts get crazy fast. Cool, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I get to show you the dyno video really quickly, and then the, what do you call it video? Me driving this at Motorsport Ranch Houston. And a quick shout out to our sponsors. Thank you so much for supporting us, and I apologize to you, NK Wheels, for having knockoff wheels on this car. I didn't put them on there. I will sort that out. Sorry about that. And thank you to Valino Tires, BC Racing Coilovers, Spec Clutch, GK Tech, NK Wheels again, ECU Master, NRG, and WhatMonstersDo.com. And I'll see everybody at our next event, August 21st and 22nd, 2021 at MSR Houston. Bye, everybody.